Have you ever wondered what happens if you take a lobster and some resin, and then you encase the lobster into the resin, and then you build a table out of it? Does this even work? Well, follow me and lass uns anfangen.
There's dirt on my hands, strong like a tree. There's roots where I stand.
Unfortunately, the whole project has to start with cooking Claudia. So I put a large pot of water on the stove to bring the water to boil. Then I added Claudia. I let her cook for about 15 minutes or so to give her the beautiful red color that's typical of cooked lobster. Here's another close-up of Claudia. Isn't she a beauty? I think lobsters are not only very interesting creatures, but also very delicious. This is the setup I want to create for my resin pour. While Claudia was cooling down, I went back into the workshop to get the lumber ready that I used for the project. This cookie I had for at least 4 years sitting around in my workshop waiting for the right project to be used for, and I think this one will be perfect for. The first step is to decide to where exactly to cut the lumber in half. And you already know that I have a hard time to actually make a decision, so this took me a minute. But I was finally able to make the mark on where to cut, disregard the second line. I cut the lumber using my circular saw. I made multiple cuts, lowering the saw blade each time. I was almost able to cut all the way through, but the blade was just a bit too short, as you can see here, so I won't be able to break this wood apart in a clean way. So I had to come up with another way to separate the two pieces. I did not want to use a circular saw to do it, since I did not want to risk coming off course and cutting a new line, ruining the lumber. Can't say I haven't done that before, so I decided to use my handy dandy Japanese hand saw from Resin. I probably pronounced that wrong, please correct me. Best tool for jobs like this. A must for any workshop. Ooh, that was quick. And now let's have a look inside of the lumber. Ooh, nice. I love the pattern. It's absolutely beautiful. I honestly cannot remember what kind of lumber it is. I remember that I ordered it online many years ago. I will have to look back into my emails to find the exact piece that I ordered. Until I find out, give me your best guess and leave it in the comments below. What do you think? What kind of wood it is? And now there's already the next decision I have to make. How to place the pieces of wood. Upside down, downside up, I don't even know. I think this combination looks best. What do you think? Before I can start with the resin pour, I want to give it a quick sand. I took 120 grit because that's apparently all I have left currently. I need to get some more sanding discs. I like to order mine in a multi-pack of Amazon. A few viewers asked me recently for my birthday they wanted to get me something and how to go about that. So I created a wish list and added it to the link in the description below. So if you'd like to get me a sanding disc, or maybe a new drill since mine broke, or anything else for my birthday or for the upcoming holidays, I will be a very happy camper. Just putting it out there. And now let's have some fun sanding together. Once I had the wood all cleaned up, it was time to take it to my crafts room to start the pouring of the resin. Now I wish I remembered the exact layout of the lumber pieces. I think this is how it was. Yeah, I'm really not sure, but it looks good now. I will add Claudia and the Corona bottles in the middle. I will also add some fresh limes. Now, as you can tell, I could not resist and took out the tail meat. So hear me out. I figured since I will pour black resin on the bottom, Nobody will ever see the underside of Claudia anyways, so nobody will ever know that the tail meat is actually missing. I did not touch the claws, cause I didn't want to break anything, you would be able to see that one, but the tail meat I thought that's okay. Claudia was delicious. To build a form, I glued some duct tape onto an old leftover piece of plywood. Then I used 4 other wood pieces around it to build a square. I added the lumber pieces into that box, and then I had an idea. I wanted to add some LED lights. To do this nicely, I have to cut a hole into one of the lumber pieces to place the controller of the lights into it. I figured the cleanest way to do is to take it back down into my workshop and use my CNC to cut it. First, I had to trace the approximate size of the controller onto the lumber. I wanted to make sure that there's enough room for my hand so I can easily turn on the lights. Also, I wanted to make sure I'm able to remove the batteries. I designed the layout in my design software and then I used my Shapeoko to cut the design. Using a CNC is the easiest way to get a fast and easy cut. And it fits the controller just perfectly. All this just added an extra 50 minutes onto the project, and now let's head back to the crafts room. I used my cute little hot glue gun to attach the controller of the LED lights to the lumber. I also used it to seal up the channel that I placed the LED lights into. I don't want any of the resin river to leak into the housing. I also used tape to seal it off completely before adding it back to the form. And then it was finally time to pour the resin. Like always, I'm using my favorite, ultra clear epoxy. I get professional results with it every time. I also started using the pigments and mica powders, which I'm very happy with. In this case, I'm using the black pigment. I poured about a 4mm thick layer of resin on the bottom. Then I popped the bubbles, let it dry to a tacky consistency, and then I added the LED lights on top of this. Then I added another layer of black resin just to cover those LED lights. I let that dry to a tacky consistency, and then I added Claudia, the Corona bottles, and limes. From here on out, I'm only pouring clear resin. The best way to go about it is to use deep pour resin, however, I ran out of it, so I had to pour multiple layers of the tabletop resin. You have to be careful with the tabletop resin because you cannot pour as thick as the deep pour. Don't pour more than the recommended thickness. It took me a few days to finish the pour completely, and then somehow I ended up in Florida. Woo! How did that happen? I'm back on the property for a little bit and I had to bring Claudia. I've never put resin outside, so let's see how that goes. I brought more Ultra Clay tabletop epoxy to finish off the project. The containers did well traveling since they come with those little red tops that give it an extra leak-free insurance. Because nobody likes leaky resin. This resin has a 1:1 ratio. Make sure you measure it exactly, and then it's time to mix, 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 and let's have fun with it. The weather here currently is just beautiful. And there's just nothing better than to enjoy a good resin mix outdoors. And now we will see if all that hard work paid off. Claudia is coming back to life. pop the bubbles using my heat gun and then I let it dry, which was probably the hardest part. And we are fertig! Wow, what a project! This tabletop literally traveled already through the whole country. I think it came out beautiful. What do you think? Please leave me a comment, like and subscribe to my channel. If you haven't done so, please click the bell button to get notified of new videos. If you can, please join my Patreon. This helps me create more YouTube videos. See you soon. Tschüss und auf Wiedersehen.